Okay, so moving on with the next step, what we will do now is let's pull up our documentation. Now we will do the Oracle prerequisite checks on both the nodes. We will complete all the requirements to make sure that our nodes are already set up properly with specific permissions, kernel parameters and everything, so that eventually when we start installing ASM as well as grid binaries and Oracle binaries, uh, Oracle won't throw the issues and errors in front of us. So here you can see the step by step of the set of Oracle prerequisites. So the first part is, what I'm going to do is, I already have my SSH client open. So what I will do is start performing these steps one by one. You guys can also perform the same steps one by one. It's easy and it should complete without an error. If there is an error, you guys can actually discuss that in the YouTube thread and I can possibly answer those problems. So yes, so now you see that it's saying that automatic setup of Oracle on both nodes. It means that there is Oracle pre-installed binaries that you need to install with yum installer. What it will do is, you don't need to manually set up the kernel parameters and the memory parameters and those things. What this Oracle database 12cr2 pre-install will do is, it will set it up for you. So now I'll copy it and I'll run it. Paste it. It seems like the session is hanging. Okay. Now you see that everything is getting installed. Searching and installing now. It's cleaning up the older binaries. So now yes, so everything is installed. Let's go to the next step. Now we have to install the ASM binaries. Why this is needed is, when you are about to create the disk and mount the disks and eventually create the disk group. So when you want to create the disk group on top of the disks you have mounted, you need ASM libraries. ASM is like LVM, that is logical volume manager, to the Linux. Let me copy it and run it on both nodes. So you guys might be thinking, why I have not run the pre-install on the other node. I have already completed it, so you can see it here. I'm going to run Oracle ASM. It is going to install as well, and I'll do the same thing on other node and it will install it as well. Why it is able to install it? Because we already have one a network card which has public auto DHCP assigned IP address, and that is the internet routable, and it's pulling the binaries from there and installing it, so no issues. Now let me go to the step. Now one more thing, when you install the pre-install, it will set up the Oracle user as well. This is very necessary, because when you want to install Oracle as well as grid infrastructure, eventually Oracle software, Oracle owns the binaries. You can create other user and do the same thing for it, but usually this is the well-renowned ID which is used in the real world as well. So that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to change the password. Make sure the password is easy, don't make it complex. This is not the production environment, so it doesn't matter. I don't know why the session is hanging, but I'll go to the another node and pass wd Oracle. It's asking for the new password. I'm giving the password. Password has been changed. Pass wd Oracle. Make sure the password is same for both the nodes, because what will happen is, when we start installing grid infrastructure, we will start the installation from the first node, and what it will do, it will set up the authentication. So password needed to be same so that it can transfer all the binaries to the second node rather than installing on one node and then going on the second node. So this is all built into the grid infrastructure binary itself. While installing, it will set up all the connections, and it will make sure that it's authenticating using the Oracle password and now transferring the binaries and doing all the setup properly. So make sure the Oracle password is same on both the nodes. That is done. Now SE Linux. SE Linux is sometimes what happens that it blocks the configuration, sometimes internet as well. Sometimes network issue can occur with this. So what I will do, I'll just do a vi. See, again we found that this is this is kind of hanging. Vi. So you see that when we see this enforcing, just do it disabled, just completely disable it. Vi. Do the same thing here as well. So this is done. Let's go to the step. Now you all need to create these groups. These groups are very much required. Why this is required? Because for the permission, when we will start installing the different binaries and working with the different directories as well, the proper permission is very much required. So this group has to be created. So just paste it. Sorry about that, I don't know what happened, but what I will do, I'll somehow it's not copying properly. Yeah. So I'll clean the screen. Let me check what is happening here. Okay, sometimes what happens is copy and paste issues can happen. You might see that some groups are already available. See, same thing happened again. So I'll go one by one. Rather than doing this, what I will do is just open the notepad, right? And that is pretty much easy. Notepad, let's check if everything works. No, it's actually wasting our time. Somehow the bad characters are copied and pasted in here, and for that reason it's wasting our time. Let me open a new tab. Just remove the spaces. Let me see if this works. Y2, yeah, so this works. What I will do is I'll do the same. I'll close this thing. I'll go to the first again and paste it. This will come up. Somehow this is not working properly. So if it is throwing a prompt or error saying that, actually not error, but if it is saying that the group is already available, then it is the reason because of this Oracle pre-install. So we'll leave it there. What we'll do, because already our user is already existing, we'll just modify the user with these secondary groups on both nodes. So that's done. Okay, then I'll do ID Oracle. We'll see that these groups are assigned. ID Oracle. You guys might be wondering why these secondary groups are required. These secondary groups are for the future permissions while installing, right, ASM and grid infrastructure and Oracle software. These secondary group will provide Oracle with the proper permissioning so that it can go in and start installing the binaries, and for that permissions are required. So that's done as well. Now for grid home, so let me tell you one thing, that when we want to install this Oracle clusterware, and on top of Oracle clusterware, Oracle software, and on top of it the database itself, so there will be two homes. There is Oracle software home and there is grid infrastructure home, same as we have two binaries downloaded, right? So two homes where we will extract those binaries and eventually install it, so that we are going to segregate different homes. You will understand why we are segregating it. This is the process how the Oracle binaries are made, and this is how the installation process is set up. So what you need to do is, because you already have this mount point slash grid slash Oracle, you need to mkdir and create these two directory on both nodes. Oh my god, sorry about that. So I'll do one by one copy, that is a lot easier. Paste. Okay, this directory has been created. I'm going to create another directory. That's done too. I'll do the same thing on the first node. I know this is hanging, and I'll paste this one as well. It will come up eventually. There is some issues, network lag, and something is there which is creating a lot of issues. I'll try to reconnect and then do it again, but okay, let's move on to the other steps. The steps are changing the permission on this directory. Make sure that the owner of the directory is this, the group is this. So chown ch ownership. Okay, so paste it, and modify the permissions to rewrite execute. Okay, this is done. I'm doing it on first node now. This is done. See, it hung again. Okay, finally, yeah, good. So this part is done. Now the OS prerequisites are completed. Now very important thing. This is why I have created this arrow and this bracket. Why I am saying this is, you need to copy the grid infrastructure binary into this directory and unzip it. You don't need to go into the second node and do the same thing. As I have already told you that while installing the grid infrastructure, Oracle will copy the binaries, and first it will authenticate using the Oracle ID and password, and it will transfer the binaries from first node to second node so that it's easy, and it will complete all the steps for you, so you don't need to install on both nodes. It needed to be started on the first node and Oracle will take care of it. So I'll show you how it's done. So because we already have downloaded this, we have already created this directory and we have already downloaded the binary. Let me show you how I'm connecting and transferring, actually transferring the binary to the specific location, which is grid. So just open the WinSCP, connect to the host 192.168.10.150. This is the first node IP address, and make sure to connect using the Oracle user. Otherwise, when you transfer this binary to the node 1 using the root password, root ID and password, what it will do, it will copy using the root ID, and the permission on that file will be root. So you will have to eventually change that permission, otherwise you won't be able to unzip using the Oracle ID itself, because Oracle do not have permission on for the root directory or root files. I'll show you what I'm trying to say. So use Oracle to log in. It is searching. I don't know, somehow there is an issue and lag on the first node. Yes, and it has now connected. What I will do is I will directly go to that location. Hold on. So just click here, you will find /grid. Grid is grid home. As I already informed you, here we have to go under grid. Now locate the binary from your Windows machine. So this is Windows location, this is Windows location, this is Linux location. You are already on the perfect location, which is /grid. Now you have to find your file. So where is the file? I'll show you. So I think I have copied into the desktop itself, into Oracle patches 12.2. Okay, so this is grid home. Just drag and drop. I'll come back. I'll just pause the video. I don't want you guys to see the transfer. Okay, so now you guys can see that the binary has been transferred. Let's go to that location, and you guys see that we are currently using the root user. So you need to shift it to the Oracle user, su-oracle. Just a second. Perfect. Just go to that location, cd grid. Just list it. Okay, just unzip it. Zip it, Linux. Okay, let it run. This will take around 2-3 minutes. I'll come back after this completes. Okay, so welcome back. So when you see you do okay, if I do ls-al, okay, so you see the binaries. Okay guys, so I don't know what happened with my rack 1 machine, but the rack 1 node, but the thing is that somehow it was lagging, so I decided to open the putty session. Putty is also a SSH client tool, so I'll show you what all files we unzipped. So we just go to the grid whom we created, and just do ls-al. You see all the files in here, right? These all will be required in future when we install grid infrastructure. For now, thank you very much for watching, and we will see the next step in the later video.